Right?
Yeah.
For those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Josh Winrotte. I'm the high school Sunday school teacher along with a couple other guys, and I absolutely love getting a chance to talk to you guys. But I got to tell you something. I'm really, really happy to not be the first person to do this. If any of you guys watch baseball, you know that most teams have 4 or 5 pitchers, and the first pitcher that pitches for a team is always the best one. So we let Kennedy go first because he is like the rock star. He's the ace of the staff. We let him step up here and talk to you guys first because he is awesome and energetic. And then that second guy is kind of like that wily veteran, the guy that just knows what he's doing and knows how to work an audience. So we let Shane come up next and be that guy. The third guy is the guy you pay like $5 for that you bring in and say, okay, can he win a few games for us? So I get to be the third guy. I'm just kind of up here to say, all right, let's see if Josh can do this or not. So I love getting to talk to you guys, and the lesson we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about what it means to be a trustworthy friend, okay? And I can't tell you anything else that you've got to worry about more in high school than who are friends you can trust, who are friends you can believe in. And we're going to talk about relationships that can be relationships that can help build up that trust, okay? So the whole series we've been talking about in high school, and I would assume junior high too, has been this friendship series, right? So everybody has a good friend, right? Everybody in your head, think about, can you think of a good friend?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's got a good friend. Yeah. Brett, who is my best friend here, is going to come stand up next to me for a couple minutes. Brett is my best friend in the whole world.
Go Brett.
Wow.
Okay? It's a big task, right? Okay? So, this right here is Brett, my best friend, okay? And I know everything about Brett, okay? I know that when Brett grows up, he wants to study dinosaurs and be a paleontologist. Right, Brett?
Right.
I know that when Brett gets older, he is going to get married and have 37 kids. Right, Brett?
Rachel?
Right.
And I know that someday Brett wants to go to Redee's Beauty College and be a hairdresser. Right, Brett? Now, we all know Brett. Brett, are any of those things correct whatsoever?
No.
But I just told everybody those things.
Yeah.
And now all of these junior hires are expecting you to do their hair someday. Especially, look, right there. You can say, she wants it. She wants you to do her hair. Now, I just told you all that I know Brett, and I just told you all those things, and he just said yes to every single one of them. Do you think the next time I tell Brett to come up here, he's going to trust me and come up here?
No, I wouldn't.
No. I've broken that trust. He has no reason to believe in me anymore because I basically told all of you that he's a liar. Because you all know Brett better than that. You know Brett doesn't really want to be a hairdresser. Most of you probably know that Brett doesn't really want to study dinosaurs when he gets older. And we all know Brett does not want to have 37 kids.
Well.
Okay? 3's probably enough, right? It's 5, 6, 11.
Too much.
Too many. All right. So, when we talk about a friend, we want somebody that knows us. We want somebody that understands us, okay? I've got this term that I absolutely hate. Do any of you guys use the term fam to describe your circle of people? Yeah. What's up, fam? How you doing, fam? Go check on the fam. I hate that term. Because when we talk about family, my family doesn't know me very well. My friends know me better than my family. The guys that I spend time with know me better than my family. The guys I play softball with know me better than my family. Because those times when you're doing life is when you're real. Okay? And we're going to talk about a pair of brothers today, all the way back in Genesis. And their names are Jacob and Esau. Okay? Now, Jacob and Esau were even closer than regular brothers. Okay? And they were closer than regular brothers because they were twins. Now, and we're not just talking twins like, oh, hey, look, I had a twin, and 10 minutes later I had another twin. This is twin number 1 comes out, and twin number 2 is grabbed on to the back of him and will not let go. Twin number 1's name was Esau, and Esau was a man's man. Esau was a big old burly guy, probably had a little Brian Kennedy beard going on, probably would look at small children and go, "Rrr," and they would run away in fear. He was one of those kind of guys. And his little brother that followed him out, Jacob was just kind of attached to his heel, and he would have been the runt. He would have been a little small. He would have been like putting Jack next to me. And you got 2 kinds of brothers. You got this big brother that came first, and you've got this little brother that came second. Now, those of you that have brothers and sisters, do you compete with your brothers and sisters?
No.
Amen.
Most of you, I would say, do, right? Does the little brother or sister usually win?
Yes.
Notice it's all the little brothers and sisters saying yes, and it's the big brothers and sisters saying no. That's because when it comes to siblings, we have a tendency to want to fight, to want to be against each other. A tendency, not always, okay? But see, with our friends, do we have a tendency to fight with our friends?
Yes.
We do. Because our friends become closer than family, and we treat them like family. So when you look at these two brothers, Jacob and Esau, they grew up constantly competing for their dad's affection, for their mom's affection, for their place in the world. And you had Esau, who was big and strong and a hunter and would go and get food. And you had Jacob, who stayed at home in the tents, and mom helped watch over. And you had Esau, who was big and strong and was expected to take on the mantle of the family. I'm going to be Esau. I'm going to be the son. I'm going to be strong. And you had Jacob, who was meek and mild. But you also had Jacob, who was incredibly smart. So if we go back to Genesis, we're going to look a little bit about Jacob and Esau's story. This is the account of the family of Isaac, the son of Abraham. When Isaac was 40 years old, he married Rebekah, the daughter of from Aramean, from Padan Aram, and the sister of Laban of Arnon. I hate Old Testament names. Do you guys hate Old Testament names? Why can't they all be like Tom and Sue and Becky? That would make the Old Testament so much easier. Okay? Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was unable to have children. The Lord answered Isaac's prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant with twins. But the two children struggled with each other in her womb. So she went to ask the Lord about it. Why is this happening? And the Lord said, the sons of your womb will become two nations. From the very beginning, the two nations will be rivals. One nation will be stronger than the other, and your older son will serve your younger son. Now, I am the oldest. I have a little sister named Summer. I say little. She's 33 years old. She's not really little. She's smarter than I am. She is much better at her job than I am. But yet, every single day, I still look at her and say, I'm first. Mom and Dad love me more. It's not true. We all know that. But I still tell her that because that's what the older sibling is. They're stronger. They're smarter. They're prettier.
Oh.
Really? No,
really? No, that was not good.
So, when the time came to give birth, this is verse 24 in Genesis 25. When the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered that she did indeed have twins. The first one was very red at birth, covered with thick hair, almost like a fur coat. So they named him Esau. Then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60-year-old when the twins was born. Now, Shane talked this morning, okay, about people living a really long time. I am 36 years old. I cannot imagine having one kid right now, let alone two. I cannot imagine being twice my age. I can't imagine being as old as Jason and having kids. I cannot imagine getting that way, okay? All right. So, Isaac is 60 years old, okay? So the boys grew up. And over time, as the boys grew up, Esau became very, very skilled, okay? He became very skilled at different trades. He was an accomplished hunter. He was, like I said earlier, he was that man's man, okay? But Jacob was quiet-temperamented. He wanted to stay home. But yet they were still constantly against each other, still constantly fighting, okay? One day, Jacob was home cooking food, okay? He was home helping take care of things. He was doing those kind of things. He was making food. And while he's doing that, his brother comes home. And his brother's been out doing manly things. He's been hunting. He's been taking care of things. And he comes home and he's starving. And he looks at Jacob and says, give me some food. Jacob's smart. We talked about this. Jacob also wants to get one up on his brother because he's heard his whole life that his brother's bigger, stronger, faster, smarter, the best because he was born first. Simply by being the first one out, he's all these things. And Jacob thinks, I'm going to trick my brother. So he tells his brother, you can have this. I'll pour you a bowl right now. You can have this stew. But you got to give up your status as firstborn and let me be firstborn. Now, you all are sitting here going, that's dumb. Why would you do? Who cares? Fine, you're first, I'm second. Who cares? But in that society, in that day and age, and in that time period, being firstborn meant that you got everything. When your dad passed on, every single thing in the family became yours. Now, I'm not a rich man. This gentleman was. This gentleman would have had enough to provide for his children's children. And what this meant was, whichever one was the firstborn was going to be set for life. Whichever one wasn't was going to have to basically beg his brother for everything the rest of the way. So Jacob's smart. He goes, hey, give me your firstborn status. Let me have your firstborn status. I'll give you a bowl of stew. Esau was so hungry he didn't even think twice. He's like, all right, that's it. Fine. You can have my firstborn status. Now, knowing what we know, why would anybody do that? Jacob says in 33. Jacob says, first you must swear that your birthright is mine. So Esau swore the oath, thereby selling all his rights as a firstborn to his brother Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and lentil stew. Esau ate the meal, then got up and left. He showed contempt for his rights as his firstborn. He didn't care. It didn't mean anything to him. Then, you ever make a decision thinking it's okay right then, and then you realize later, oh, that was really stupid? Esau is not a very smart man. He's big, he's strong, he's beautiful with that big red beard, but he's not incredibly smart. He threw his firstborn status off like it didn't mean anything for a bowl of stew. Okay? Now, Jacob's not done because, like we talked about, Jacob's a pretty smart guy. So Jacob decides that not only does he want to take that, he also wants to get his dad's blessing. So, Isaac, Jacob and Esau's dad, he has the ability to put a blessing onto one of his sons and say that all of my power, all of my glory, everything that I am is going to go on to my son. And these two things go together. One of them is done completely by birth. This firstborn status, this birthright, comes completely by who comes out of the womb first. Okay? Can we control that? But the dad did have some control. He could give his blessing to whichever child he wanted. Well, we've already talked about dad had more relationship with which one? Esau. The one that was out hunting, the one that was out gathering, the one that was big and strong and manly. That was dad's kid. The kid that was back in the tents, the kid that was quiet, the kid that was smaller, that was mom's. So who do you think is going to get that blessing? That blessing's going to go to Esau, right? But Jacob's smart. In chapter 27, you get this whole awesome story about how Isaac sends Esau out and says, go and kill an animal. Come back and make a stew out of it. Take its skin, bring it to me so I can feel it, and I will give you your blessing. And Jacob overhears this. So Jacob, being the smart guy that he is, gets an animal skin and ties it on his back. And he gets another one that's his dad's favorite animal, and he makes stew, and he goes in and he tricks his dad. He goes in there and he sits down next to his dad and says, it's me, Esau. His dad's really old at this point. His dad's like, can't see, can't hear, can't do much of anything, but he can still smell and he can still feel. And Isaac goes, that's stew I smell. And he puts his hand out and he touches that fur that's on Jacob's back. And he goes, oh, it must be Esau, because he can still feel. And he puts his blessing on to Jacob. Now you're sitting there going, that's just words. It doesn't mean anything. Once he realized he was tricked, he could take it back. But that's not the way society worked. In the way that society worked was your word was your bond. When you said it, that was it. So Jacob not only stole his brother's status as the firstborn, he now has his father's blessing. And it means that Esau is basically a broke pauper who has to live off of someone else. So you're saying, okay, this is a big story. It doesn't mean anything to me. Why does this matter? Do we ever do anything like that to our people we love, to our friends? Do we ever break a trust with them for our own gain? Do we ever gossip about somebody else to make ourselves feel better? Do we ever do something our parents have told us not to? We all do those things all the time. And see, a trust is something that's really, really hard to get back once it's broken. Okay? If you guys have your devices with you, anybody have their devices with them? Go ahead and get your Bible app pulled up for me. Go to Proverbs 18. Because see, what happens is people will learn when you're not trustworthy. You guys saw what I did to Brett earlier, right? Yeah? Jack, you want to come up here with me? Why not, Jack? Come on, Jack. Come on. Come on, Jack. He doesn't want to come up here. He knows. He knows I'm not trustworthy. Okay? Somebody got chapter 18 pulled up? Proverbs 18:19. Go ahead and read it for me real loud.
Me?
Yeah. You're the only one that raised your hand in the whole room.
A brother wrong is more unguilty than a fortified city, guardians of a
Citadel, a fortress. Okay? I have done something tonight which will be hard to get back. Now, we all know that I'm joking with Brett. You all have heard that. But if I was serious, what if I had pulled Brett up here and said all those things about you? What if I had told you that Brett was a liar and a cheat and a murderer, and he wouldn't have been able to defend himself? And you guys find out later that he's not. Are you going to trust what I say? No, and it's going to be hard to bring that back. When you break your parents' trust, it's hard to win it back. When you break your friend's trust, it's hard to win it back. It's like a fortified city. An offended friend is harder to win back than a fortified city. Now, we don't have fortified cities anymore, okay? But imagine a castle. Big old thick walls in the castle, and your friend's standing in the middle of it. It's going to take some work to get to them, right? The same thing is true when you destroy a relationship, when you destroy a trust. John chapter 10. Let me know when somebody's got it up. Have you got it already? 10:37 and 38. This is Jesus speaking right here. I thought you had it. You're stalling me. Come on.
Okay.
All right.
If I do not the works of my Father, but believe me not, but if I do them, though ye believe not me, believe the works, that ye may know and understand that the Father is in me, and I in the Father.
Okay, so when I ask for volunteers to read, next time we don't want the King James.
Okay, what is it?
I
got you. Here we go. Do not believe me unless I carry out my Father's work. But if I do this work, believe in the evidence of the miraculous works I have done, even if you don't believe me. Then you will know and understand that the Father is in me and I am in the Father. As Christians, what are we called to be? This is the answer part. As Christians, what are we called to be? Christ-like. As Christians, what are we called to be? Christ-like.
Oh my gosh.
We're supposed to live out our lives as much as we can like Christ, right? So for those of you guys that heard the sermon this morning, okay, Noah wasn't perfect, right? Correct? Shane, you were here this morning. Was Noah perfect, Shane? No, but he was what? Blameless and righteous, right? Which meant that he was trying, that he was repentant of the things that he did wrong, that he was trying to live his life the right way. Raise your hand if you are perfect in this room. It's always a couple. None of us are, right? But can we be righteous and can we be blameless? And I'm going to tell you, that's how you begin rebuilding a trust that you've broken. You don't just say, oh, I won't do that anymore. Brett, come here. I'm sorry for saying this thing. Hey guys, this is my friend Brett, and I said some stuff about him I should not have earlier. Okay? I'll try not to do that again in the future. Alright? Everybody give Brett a hand. What's the first thing I did? Nope, before that. Before that.
You called him up.
What I said? I brought him up there. I went to him, okay? I got to Brett. I didn't have Rachel come up here and I didn't whisper to Rachel, hey Rachel, would you tell Brett I'm sorry? I didn't call up Brian and say, hey Brian, can you get one of the middle schoolers to go tell Brett that I'm sorry? I got Brett. I went to him. I looked him in the eye and said, I'm sorry to you. That's that first step in knocking down that wall of that fortified city. Go to the person. And then the second thing is, you got to make amends. You got to actually show somebody that you're sorry. Do you think I want to stand up in front of 50 people and say, I lied? You guys don't even like doing that in front of one person or two, your mom and dad, right? Sometimes it's got to be a big group of people. If you wrong somebody in front of a large group of people, you don't just go apologize to them in private. You tell them and then you let everybody else know, hey, it was me, not them. You got to rebuild that trust because we are supposed to be Christ-like. That means we're supposed to be striving to righteousness, striving to be blameless. Not perfect, because I guarantee you I'm going to screw up again when it comes to Brett. I'm going to call him Fluffy, and everybody's going to be really unhappy with me. I'm going to tease him the wrong way someday. Shane and I don't know each other very well yet. We're getting to know each other. Shane and I both have some quirks, okay? I have a quirk that I don't have a personal space bubble. Like, I don't care. I will come sit on your lap. I will pick you up and carry you around the room. If you guys know Art, I will kiss Art on the cheek every Sunday morning to tell him hi. I have no bubble. I could go to a European country and fit in fine because they like to stand right on top of you, anybody that's ever been over there. Shane's a little different. Shane has a much different bubble than I do. Shane's bubble, I'm learning, is about 3 feet. And I got in Shane's bubble because that's me. I just don't even think about it. I just got in Shane's bubble. And Shane's bubble kept going, stop it, Josh, stop it. And I missed the clues over and over again. I should have got it the first time and didn't get it the first time. Definitely should have got it the second time. And the third time, I really, looking back, I realized I'm an idiot. Okay? But Shane came to me one day and he goes, dude, you got to quit. And I was like, oh, crap. I didn't realize. But I'd still violated that trust. I still violated the trust of somebody that I was getting to know, that I was beginning to understand. Now, if Shane says that and I say, whatever, dude, and walk away, are Shane and I ever going to have a relationship? No, he's going to be inside that city and I'm going to be on the outside. It's just going to stay that way. But instead, I wanted to do something different because I don't want him on that city and me on the outside. I want to have a relationship. I want to be friends with Shane. I want to grow with Shane. So I apologized to Shane. I didn't do it immediately, but I did go back to him and I apologized because I want him to understand. I don't want him to be uncomfortable. I don't want him to feel that way. Now, it was a small thing. Did I need to stand up in front of you all and say that for him to understand? No, probably not. But I want you to understand that it happens with us. I break trust with people all the time. And it's so much more work to get that trust back once you've broken it, but it's worth it. Shane and I will be a stronger friendship and a stronger pairing because of that event. And I want you all to learn that too. Because when it comes down to it, Jacob and Esau could have left and never spoke to each other ever again. They could have had that trust broken forever. But God has a way of kind of shoving people back together. And after Jacob goes away for a little while, he goes away and spends some time. He needs to come back. And as he's coming back, he finds out that his brother is the next city over. Okay? Now, let's remind you who Jacob and Esau are. Jacob, big burly guy, strong, not too smart, but good with an axe. Jacob, meek little guy. Okay? There's some neat stories about Jacob. If you want to read about a fun character, this is a guy that married the wrong woman twice. This is a guy whose father-in-law messed him out of a bunch of livestock. This is a guy that had to wrestle with an angel and got his hip broken over it. He's a fun story. But after all this happens, he's traveling back, and he finds out his brother's going to be where he's at. And he says, I've got to make amends. So he sends a runner on ahead. And he sends that runner ahead to say, Esau, we got to work this out. We got to get this figured out. So, little guys, or if you guys have a big sibling, when you do something to make that bigger sibling mad, the next time you see them, what do you expect that they're going to do to you? That's exactly it. You're expecting them to hit you, punch you, take it back out on you in some way, shape, or form, right? Okay? That's exactly what they're expecting. Well, back in Genesis, that's exactly what they were expecting, okay? Jacob is returning. He's coming back. He knows that Esau is there, and he is expecting to get his butt kicked. And when that runner comes back after he'd sent out to Esau, he comes back and he says, your brother's coming to meet you. And he's got 400 soldiers with him. Does that sound like a welcoming committee to you?
Yes.
No. Does that sound like it's going to be happy times? Hey, let's have a party!
Yes.
No. Not a party. So Jacob thinks that he'll be smart. And he goes, I got a little bit of time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split up my people. I'm going to split some of my people and livestock over here with one wife. I'm going to split some other of my people and my livestock over here with the other. And we'll be okay. He was scared. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that feeling of knowing that your brother is coming with 400 men? We've got a couple of siblings in here. Jack, let's imagine for a moment that you took your sister's backpack. You were real mad. She'd done something. So you took her whole backpack, took it, dumped it in the front yard in the snow, covered it all up, and then took the dog out and let the dog pee on it. Okay? Now, imagine your sister doesn't find out you did it until the next morning and you've already left for school. You guys go to the same school, right? You're standing at your locker and you see your sister coming down that hallway. You see her with 3 friends on each side of her. They look like the Flying V. Any of you guys ever seen Mighty Ducks? Abby's marching in front, there's friends out each side. What's going to happen to you?
You're goner.
They're going to stuff you in your locker and leave you, correct? Or worse. Okay? Jacob was scared. He knew that something bad was going to happen. He was so afraid. But yet, God has a way of laughing at our fears. Because what you think is going to be bad, what you think is going to be terrible, a lot of times isn't that bad. I went home that afternoon, the day that Shane and I had our first conversation. I looked at my wife and said, I don't think he's ever going to talk to me again. And I said, that bothers me more than anything out of this. She goes, just tell him you're sorry. And I said, you don't tell somebody they're sorry. I mean, he's never going to talk to me again. I smacked him on the butt. He is never going to talk to me again. And she goes, dude, it'll be okay. You're stressing out over nothing. And I was convinced that he was going to send back a letter and say, no, that's okay. Appreciate your apology, but I'm not going to talk to you for a little while. And you know what? I sent the message to Shane, and it was better than I would have ever dreamed. Because Shane's first statement after that was, it's all right, brother, thank you. Now, that doesn't seem like a big thing to you, but for guys, we don't have big circles of friends, especially as adults. You guys can attest to that. Brian, correct? Correct. Shane? We got small groups of friends. And for me to be able to keep that, it was important. Well, Jacob and Esau, one brother, baby. So, Jacob's ready to die. All right, I'm going to read to you from chapter 33. Then Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and his 2 servant wives. Dude has 4 wives. He's crazy. Don't do it. Nothing. 4 wives. All he's doing is making food and doing laundry. I guarantee you that's all that man has time for. But he takes the 4 wives and all the children and all the stuff and he splits them up and he moves them away from each other. Okay? Set out, keep losing my spot. He put the servant wives and their children at the front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then Jacob went on ahead. As he approached his brother, he bowed to the ground 7 times before him. He got down on his knees as his brother's coming towards him with 400 men. And he bows down, he puts his face on the ground. And I imagine, it doesn't say what he was saying, but I can only imagine it's, dude, I'm so sorry. Please don't kill me. I'm so sorry. And he walks forward a little bit farther, and he gets down on his knees and does it again. He does it 7 times. And then this is that part where I said God is good even in those times. Then Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, threw his arms around his neck, kissed him, and they both wept. Now, let's flash back for a second. Jacob, who fought with his brother his entire life, steals his firstborn status, steals his blessing, runs away to a foreign land with all of them, basically leaving his family in utter disgrace. Coming back, knowing that his brother's going to want to hurt him and everything else. And he bows down to him, hoping that his children and his family live. And his brother hugs him and embraces with him and weeps with him. Esau looked at the women and children and asked, "Who are these people with you?" "These are the children God has graciously given to me, your servant," Jacob replied. Then the wives came forward, and then Leah came forward, and finally Joseph and Rachel came forward. "And what are all the flocks and herds I met as I came?" Esau said. Jacob replied, "They are my gift, my lord, to ensure your friendship." He's making amends. He's telling his brother, I'm sorry. Let me make it up to you. I want to make it up to you. I understand I was wrong. I understand that I screwed up. I understand that I am the worst human being alive. He's not coming back to Esau saying, hey, take me back. What's up? He didn't come back to him and say, hey, I don't care what you've been doing. Here's what I've been doing. We're going to be brothers again. He came back to him and said, I am scum. Take the animals. Take everything else I have. Spare my family. Be my king. Do you hear him? That's what he says over and over and over again. They are a gift, my Lord, to ensure your friendship. My king. Your servant. He understands that he's done wrong. Esau answers, my brother, I have plenty. Keep what you have for yourself. But Jacob insists, no, if I have found favor with you, please accept this gift from me. And what a relief to see your friendly smile. It is like seeing the face of God. Please take this gift I have brought to you, for God has been very gracious to me. I have more than enough. And because Jacob insisted, Esau finally accepted the gift. Well, Esau, let's be going. I will lead the way. When you make amends, when you ask for that friendship, when you want to take that trust back, you have to be willing to give everything. And that means being real and being open. I am a failure. I'm a failure to my children. I'm a failure to my friends. I'm a failure to my wife. I'm a failure to my parents. But because I know that, I can go to them and make amends. Jacob was willing to admit that he was the lowest of the low because of the choices that he'd made and the things that he had done. But he was willing to go and rebuild that trust. He was willing to do everything he could to be a brother again. So, I hate the phrase fam, but when it comes down to it, anybody that you consider fam, whether that's real fam, whether that's your friends, whether that's your teammates, whatever that is, understand that trustworthiness is what that friendship, that relationship is built upon. You guys pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father,